All right. Go ahead and get started here. Close that. Close that. He's gonna take a nap. I'm so tired. Okay, let's get started. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Oh man. All right, you guys. Let me get started. All right. It's Charles Walk here again. Art in the Raw. Just wanted to talk over some things with Blazer. I had a earlier video um, that pretty much upset me for about 3 days. I'm pretty much over it now, but I jumped on the bandwagon for Blazer so quickly without realizing some of the other caveats behind it, and I'll disclose some of that to you guys today. If you're going to be doing anything with Blazor, you have to be on EF Core with .NET Standard. Otherwise, you won't be able to use in your code. You can use it through web services, which is planning on what I'm planning on doing. But primarily, you have to get everything on the same version. So I had an instance where I had my membership and my entity framework were running on .NET 4.7.2. No problem with it. It was running just fine. But when I was trying to use um, shared classes in between the two projects, it quickly informed me that they have to be on .NET Standard. So I tried to attempt to do a conversion, and I ran into a whole lot more. As soon as I did the conversion, more things crept up, and more things crept up. So I pretty much wasted 3 days trying to get EF Core working, and I'm not too happy about it. But one of the things that I have accomplished to do was go in and actually refactor some of my code. I'm about to go through some of that right now. I'll allow you watch me go through some of it if you don't mind. But I really don't want to refactor it right now. To be honest with you, it's just I've been trying to figure out how to do this without least amount because what I'm ended up having to do. The reason why this is affecting me so much is because I'm ended up having to do duplication. And for you developers out there that are experienced like myself or have more experience, you know that that's something that we frown down on. Duplication is not something that I enjoy, but at the moment, that's what I'm going to have to go with. And when I say duplication, I have classes that are in my Art in the Raw um, project, and I have classes that are in my Art in the Raw server, and then I also have some in the shared. The problem is this shared is on .NET 2 or .NET Standard, and this is on 4.7. So in order to get these to work, I have to take all my classes and put them in here, and then make sure that this can use it, which it can't. So I was trying to figure out a way to actually get everything to work with the EF Core, and I just ran into issues. And I'm on a tight schedule, a deadline that I'm trying to meet, and I can't spend any more time with it. So I kind of threw it away. I tried to go the route of Dapper, and I reluctantly go down Dapper's road because I have to write a whole lot of I have to write a lot of code. I have to replace Entity Framework in its complete. um, yeah, I just have to replace it, and I don't want to. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go ahead and use Entity Framework 6 the way I had it. I have to go back and remodify some things because I tried to pull things out and it just went completely crazy. So, I'm going to put things back and I'm going to leave this library with 4.72. And this is going to serve up. I have controllers in here that actually serve up just the standard stuff. A lot of this is going to be going away because I'm moving out all the Blazor. but I'll be keeping the authentication. I'm gonna have an authentication controller and a error controller, and everything else is pretty. Oh yeah, and the managed controller too. So the managed controller is going to be here, and that's the one that's going to actually handle all my logins and all that stuff. And I got to remodify some of this to make it um, work for Ajax calls because right now, which still boggles my mind, and I always try to be positive towards Microsoft, but they irritate me because a lot of the developers that work there I know them, and I know a lot of them have a lot of the same practices that I have, and then I don't see it in the code that Microsoft delivers, and it kind of boggles my mind. And just to let you know why I say that is because Entity Framework 6 is totally different than EF Core, and I had to discover that the hard way with the Fluent API. The Fluent API, they wrote it differently. The Fluent API, I would think, in my opinion, should be the Fluent API, not Fluent API for EF6 and Fluent API for EF Core. And then they don't have any consistent documentation to guide you in the right direction on what you need to do. And that just irritated me. I read one thing on one website and I go and put it in and it doesn't work. And so I try something on another site. So after a while, you get kind of irritated, like, well, I don't know what's true and what's not true. And since the source isn't putting out the truth, I'm just going to scrap it for now until they get things right because um, EF Core is bomb. I like it. I haven't been able to really test out everything, but the aspects of it that I have tested, I like. But Entity Framework is just another beast, and I'm just not ready to tackle it right now. I need to get up and it's when you're looking at rapid application development, for some reason Microsoft has forgotten what rapid application development is about, and it's not going to the command line and typing all these commands and making sure that it just boggles my mind, and I can't understand it. And I mean, I've been traveling with Microsoft for years, and I've seen them do some dumb stuff, and I've seen them do some great stuff, but I just don't get. I don't get it. I don't get it. But it's neither here or there. This is what they did. So I have to go in and refactor some things. And so what I was doing, I had a view model folder in my models. So I'm bringing that back. Um, as you see, I have to go in here and modify some things. But what I'm going to end up having to do is I'm going to have the server serve up the views, and I'm gonna have a copy of the views in my Blazor app. As you see, this is what I mean by duplication, and this is what's irritating me. So I'm gonna have a class here for Entity Framework, and so Entity Framework, when it goes to do Ajax calls, I'm gonna have it sending the view back to the server, and so the server is gonna receive the view, which in all technical aspects of it, all it sees is JSON, and it maps it to a model, and I just want the model to be the same on both sides. So I'm going to make copies. And so that when it gets to because the reason I'm doing this is because in my models, I'm using additional properties that aren't in the database that I don't want in the database to only use for the purpose of client server communication. And what I mean by that is like I have a couple of views in here that have some have an error property so that if there's an error that happens on the server, I can put it in there and return the view. And then on the client side, I can look at it and see what the error is and then be able to make my determination on displaying it a friendly way to the client. So I'm having to rewrite all this stuff. So this is going to be my views for uh, for Blazor, and it's going to serve up all of these views. I just wanted them to be consistent, and so what I'm going to end up doing is these views right here are going to be my main views that I'm going to be dealing with. Anything I need to make modifications in, I'll make it here, and then I'll make a copy of these, and then I'll just copy them up here and overwrite these, and then I'll make my changes. That way I can always be consistent in what's here, and there's not going to be too many changes in these classes. I'm going to be adding some additional classes. I might be adding some additional properties to some of these classes, but these classes won't be changing that much. So it won't be that much of a bear for me right now. And then as things smooth out with the .NET Core framework, I'll refactor things. But until then, this is the way I'm having to go. And for all you developers out there frowning at me right now, I'm frowning at me too, damn it. Shit. Hell, I got to write this. But anyway, this is how I can make it work without having to go through the arduous process of ripping out one project to create another one for .NET Core. It's just not worth it. And, I mean, for what I needed to do, Entity Framework and management work just fine in this project, and I can just use it as, Ajax calls into it. As far as Ajax is concerned, it doesn't care what the model looks like as long as it has the same properties. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here into my Art in the Raw. I brought all these files over, so I just need to make sure that they're in the right namespace, which they're not. Art in the Raw shared. They're not in shared anymore. They're in Art in the Raw, and they're in models, and they're in DB. All right. And so one of the other things that I was doing too is that so I can mitigate the amount of code that I had to pull in. I had the views actually inheriting from the actual classes from my data access layer. So my data access layer already had classes in it that were built with the Entity Framework. And so all these classes, instead of me just making copies, I just inherited from them to use them in my project. And on the server side, I am actually using the actual classes. I'm going to have to use the classes themselves. So all these view models will not be inheriting from that. I have to go in and change some things. So this is the work that's tedious. But I'm having to go in here because every one of these classes are going to have the whole and complete implementation in here. And that's because they're just going to be receiving data. So these are just going to be, I was also thinking about just using a different, these are just going to be storage containers. That's all they really are. They're just storage containers that I'm going to be using on the client side to store data. This will be the state that will be represented for the views. So I have a blog view, I have a artist view, I have a contacts view, I have a gallery view. So everything that is needed for these classes are going to be all inclusive. So that way, when I request data from the Blazor app, I get the full complete view, and then everything that's inside of it I can use. I don't have to request multiple. I don't have to make multiple requests. And it looks like I might even just be down to making one request or two requests. One request to get the data, and then another one for authentication, because I have to go and write some code so that when they initially log in, they get a token and it stores it in their state. And so that every time they do a request, it sends that along with it so that they can authenticate through. Um, and so I'm having to do a lot of arduous work that I really don't feel like doing. And so I'm going to pass on that right now. And since I got you guys on the video right now, let's go ahead and spark up a new project, because it's part of this challenge that I'm doing with Microsoft is that I have to spun up like 5 different applications. At least that was my choice. 5 different applications that I'm going to put on the website as examples for Microsoft to demonstrate what Blazor can do. So what I plan on doing, what's this? Oh, okay. I'm trying to understand, why is it trying to install something? It's trying to uninstall. See, when you do NuGet, when you're in Visual Studio, if it needs to usually have Visual Studio be down so that it can remove it. because some of the components may be used by Visual Studio. Yeah. Schedule task. This is the update that I did, and I don't want to do that right now. There's this new features that I put in earlier. So what I want to do, I'm just gonna spin up a new project because I don't want to put anything else in that project. So I'm gonna create a new project so you guys get to see me spark up a new Blazor project. Every Blazor project uses ASP Core Web Application, so that's the one that I'm choosing. I'm gonna give it a name, and I didn't think about a name first. Yeah, it shouldn't be this hard to make a name, but I'm trying to. I don't want to have to go and change it, and it just messes everything up. So I'm trying to make sure what name I want because these are like Blazor examples. So let's do Cardinal Raw Blazor examples. What the heck? Just keep it simple. Create, and I get to show you guys what I do in order to actually create pages. So let's create a sorry, I went off into thought for a minute, trying to figure out if this is really what I wanted to do. But anyway, we're going to do a Blazor side app. Great. All right, so I'm going to use this project as the main project to serve up all of these applications. At least that's my plan. And with Blazor, for those that have not seen it, this is the structure. The structure has dependencies, it has properties, it has WW root data, shared, and then all this stuff down. Okay. You won't see a controllers folder because it no longer uses controllers. You might as well think of Blazor as an MVVM pattern. It's primarily the pages have everything in them. They have the view, and they have the actual model. Now, when I say model, they use a different aspect of model than we did with MVC. And so this basically is a C# code block that allows you to represent your model here. So let's say I have a protected integer of ID, whatever. Uh, and let's create a name. Just create two little properties. So that's my model. So for this index, when it goes to run, this top portion where it says page, this is the attribute that is used to signify your route. So you have a route of slash. So this is technically home. So when I run this, you're going to see that this is going to come and pop on this page. And I'm currently running preview 5 of .NET Core 3. Let me go turn my heater on. All right, y'all. Sorry about that. There we go. Woo. I'll leave it on. Okay, windows closed, doors closed. Okay. This is Blazor. This is the default template that comes out of the basic install. You have three tabs here, or shall I say links here, and they all go to three different locations. On the home is just home. Counter. This is just an example of the counter. This is all running client side. Now the beauty of this is that everything runs on the client. Well, in a server environment, it runs on the server, pushing it out to the client. But everything is a WebSocket. So let me do this. We'll refresh, get rid of the cache, and see what it brings down. So this is what it brings down. This is what's loaded when it first loads up. So you see there's 382 KB. That's a good small size. I like that. But what it's doing is it downloads all this. This is what it's going to use. And then, of course, it hits a negotiate. This is the process that it makes a request to the server, which the server says, okay, can you support WebSockets? And the browser basically says yes or no. And if the browser says yes, what it does is it sends back a response to say establish a negotiation. And so that negotiation is saying we're going to do a WebSocket communication. And so basically it has as you see, it has some files that they download, the Blazor JS. This is in this file is also information on how to bootstrap everything up. So what's happening is that when the file gets loaded, it makes a communication, establishes a WebSocket connection, and then everything that you do when I'll show you, I'll put a button on here and we'll make a call back to the server and no, we won't do that. But basically, you make a request back to the server using an AJAX call, and it's going to hit a controller, and you got to make sure that it sends back stuff in retrospect to an AJAX call. And everything is going to be going through WebSockets, which with Microsoft they're using SignalR. If you haven't heard about SignalR, just type it up. It's SIGNALR, and you just type it in there, and it'll tell you everything you need to know. Go do a little bit of reading on it, but it's a way of being able to transport information from one destination to another over a WebSocket connection. And so what that does for Blazor is it allows you to have a desktop performing application in your browser with little to no latency. And I haven't really seen too much latency, to be honest with you. And I'll just show you what I mean by that. Going in between these, that's really quick. I can't, and that's not even coming in there. But we'd have to build some really things in here, like some going to different pages. These are basically page links, and you see how fast it's loading. Let's put some things on some pages and make some things work. So this is your model, and in the model, you can go in here and sorry, I got heartburn. Protected void on click, and that is your method. Okay. Now, how do you use that on click? This is C#. How am I going to use that in what you call an HTML page? Well, let's do it like this. And all right. All right. And then so in here, what we will do is write a console. Oh, this is console. I was going to write console.writeLine because it's a C#. I could do console write line, and it will write a console log out to the browser for me. What I found was is using Signal R, using a console write line does not write to the console, and I haven't had time to research it to figure out why not. So I won't be able to show you that. But basically, based off of this click, it's going to call this event. This is the way that you represent that through this attribute click on click, which is basically calling into this, and it does whatever you need it to do. Now, what I like about this is that you don't even have to do what you normally have to do, like when you have, let's say we have an input type. Um, All right, so let's say if you have an input, you usually have to go in here and you have to put an on change on here, and then you have to put an event to go in and actually update your state and all that stuff. With this, you don't have to worry about that because Microsoft did something smart, which is very, very similar to Angular. They have a bind routine, which allows you to actually bind to your model. So I'm going to bind to name. So bind allows you to do a two-way bind with name. So whatever's in name, let's just go ahead and put a default of Charles. So when I first load this application, you should see Charles. You should see Charles in this text box, and I'm gonna change it, and then it should change this value also. And in order to find that out, let's do this. If all right, why? Oh, yeah, I'm tired. I gotta stop. This is dialysis really killed me yesterday. I didn't really get good sleep last night, and I'm wore out. So I'm gonna make this my last couple of things I'm gonna talk to you guys about and make this video short because I'm not into it today. I'm already seeing it. So basically, I put this here so that you can see what happens when I start typing stuff in here, and it's just gonna do the same thing as the text box does, but it's just letting you know that whatever you type in there is also being represented in here, and I'm just displaying it there. But I'm really loving Blazor. I haven't seen any issues with Blazor. It's the EF core that's giving me the struggle. It really pretty much set me back 3 days. I'm hopefully be able to catch back up. But whatever I type in here, there it goes. So as soon as I leave there, if I so you know that whatever you type in there or whatever the user types in there is going to be represented in your model. And it makes it so much easier because from the standpoint of development goes, you don't have to keep track of this. You just hook it up. When the click is done, you can come in here and make it as simple as, dispatch, which um, I'm using Redux. I don't have it hooked in here right now, but I can do like a dispatch, and I can do object, whatever. And then I can put an ID in here and name, and that will be sent off to my Redux and stored. And then when I'm ready to send it to the server, I send it to the server. However I need to do it. But it makes it so easy because let's say, for instance, this is like a protected employee object, and you can map that employee object or properties to. You can have multiple text boxes. You can multi them to that, and then when you go and get ready to save everything, you just do that, and you're done. It makes it so much easier. So that's my little show of Blazer for today. I'm sorry I got to keep it short, guys. Girls, whoever's on watching this, but I'm just tired, and I've been programming pretty much all this morning, and I took a little nap because I was tired. But I think I'm gonna go take another nap because it wasn't enough. So thank you guys. It was been a pleasure. Hope to do more of these here in the future if time allows. But take care of yourselves.